I've made quite a lot of videos where I've tried to get tubeless tyres to work reliably, and I have not been successful. The best I've achieved is to reduce the rate of air loss from the tyre. 12 hours later, the tyre is totally flat. In this video, I'll look at some tubeless anecdotes, compare them to my own experience with tubeless tyres, and try to come up with a few learning points. Whether you're a tubeless advocate or not, I hope this video will be useful to you. Many of the clips were recorded on my telephone, hence some of the audio is not very good, in which case I'll clarify the dialogue with text. I was following one of my mates on a club run, and all of a sudden there was a plume of sealant. With every rotation of the wheel, more sealant sprayed out. Soon the tyre was completely flat. After spending 10 to 15 minutes trying to seal the tyre, absolutely, according to GCN it worked perfectly every time, even though you put 6-inch nails through the tyre. Eventually we decided to put a plug in. We used one of these worms, and that allowed the tyre to be inflated enough to be able to carry on. In my previous experience, it'll go down to about 30 psi and then it will seal. Yeah. Later on in the ride, the seal around the plug broke and the tyre went down to a very low pressure, probably 20 to 30 psi. Luckily, the rider was quite light, so he was able to limp home. As a tubeless tyre, it was ruined and it was replaced. At about £60, that was an expensive puncture. In terms of time, it cost us between half and 3/4 of an hour, much longer than the time required to replace a tube. On the positive side, that tubeless tyre did get the rider home. This anecdote replicates what I saw in my shed experiments. The sealant would slow the rate of pressure loss until the pressure went down to about 30 psi. So that's about 30 psi, and I can hear hissing already. And then it would completely seal. Trying to put extra pressure in would just break the seal again and the cycle would repeat. This second anecdote is slightly more complicated. It regards a rider that we found next to the side of the road. His tubeless tyre had punctured and gone flat. This is a tubeless tyre, isn't it? Yeah, on the back of that. His primary problem seemed to be that his tubeless sealant had completely dried out and therefore was not effective. He did have the sense to carry a spare tube. Unfortunately, the valve stem on it wasn't long enough, and re-inflating the tyre was difficult. Also, the original foreign object that caused the puncture, a thorn, had not been removed, and therefore the replacement tube had deflated. After we removed the thorn, one of our group donated another inner tube and pumped the tyre up with a CO2 cartridge. He then happily rode home with us. It seems to me, even if the sealant is effective, the sealant drying out is a significant risk to getting a flat. You should also, on every ride, be prepared by taking at least one spare extra tube, and possibly a puncture repair kit too. During that roadside experience, I also recorded this. What was that you said, Adrian? So my last 3 spare inner tubes all gone to tubeless tyres. Oh dear. Oh well. And you haven't used any yourself? I haven't used any myself. Oh, really? And you run tubes? I do. So it's a good job I carry spare ones. For other people, yeah. First of all, I want a sealant that will effectively plug the holes in the tyres. Based on my shed experiments and my observations out on the road, I haven't found that sealant yet. For me, a sealant that dries out and maybe needs to be replaced every few months is a significant maintenance barrier. As well as being effective in blocking holes, I want a sealant that doesn't dry out. Am I imagining a sealant that doesn't yet exist? If you are running tubeless tyres, skimping on puncture repair spares is a false economy. You need to be ready for those punctures that do not seal. Personally, I'd want to take at least 1, possibly 2 extra tubes, as well as a puncture repair kit.